Hello all sentient beings and welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, where we talk about all news, comics, and media related to the Transformers. On this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode, straight from Westeros, we review Transformers Issue 3. Antivirus software developer Kaspersky enters the mobile gaming market with their virus-free game, Transformers Bumblebee Defender. And we go over several character announcements for Wave 3 of the Transformers trading card game. Today is Friday, April 19th, 2019, and this is episode 125 of Transmissions Alt Mode.
Welcome to Transmissions Alt Mode, the podcast that is officially filing a missing persons report for one Yoshi. I'm your host Charles, aka Big C, and I'm joined by the excellent Transmissions team. Snazzy Mike, our awesome editor extraordinaire.
Always a pleasure to be here.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian beast.
Do we really have to look for him? Let's talk Transformers.
He's just going to put in the missing persons report. It doesn't mean anything's going to get done about it.
That's true.
If you've seen Yoshi, let us know.
Point him to a microphone.
All right, as always, we start off by thanking our donatrons, those lovely people who give us money on Patreon and PayPal. You guys are awesome. And if you'd like to become a member of those hallowed ranks, just go to transmissionspodcast.com/support. If you want to buy merchandise at our store, go to transmissionspodcast.com/shop. And you can get some Transmissions themed merchandise. If you want to go to K-Girl store, go to teepublic.com/users/superstark or superstark. And you can get some awesome designs by K-Girl. Let's get right into some Transformers comics news. All right. So first up, we've got another cover image. This is for Transformers number 7, so this will be in a couple of months. This is an image by Christian Ward. So this was put out, I think it was on Twitter, and TFW 2005 got it on their front page. So it's a nice image of Galaxy Optimus Prime from Transformers War for Cybertron Siege. That's who the Optimus or the Orion Pax is modeled after in the new Transformers series. All right. Next, we've got some art from Andrew Griffith. So he's going to be doing art or some art on Transformers issue number 4, and he got to design a female bot. Which they don't say who this bot is, but he got permission from the editor David Marriott to put this image on Twitter. I'm going to guess this is Termigax. That's my guess, or it could also be another character that's featured in Transformers number 3, but we'll get to that in the review. But I'm going to guess, since we've had Termigax mentioned in both issue 1 and issue 2 of the new Transformer series, and she's apparently a big deal in the current continuity. So I'm guessing this is the new character. She does remind me a bit of the Mistress of Flame. Not just she's got this funky staff she's carrying, and she's got wings that I guess could be they could fold over into a cloak or something. But it's a very cool design, so nice job, Andrew. And looking forward to having Andrew back on art duties. So that's all the comics news, so let's get into our comic review. So today we are reviewing Transformers number 3, The World in Your Eyes, Part 3. Written by Brian Ruckley, art by Angel Hernandez, pages 3 to 18, and Cache Whitman, pages 1 to 2 and 19 to 20. Colors by Joanna LaFuente, letters by Tom B. Long, and editors David Marriott and Tom Waltz. We have 4 covers. The regular cover is by fan favorites Nick Roche and Josh Burcham. It's Optimus Prime pushing his way into a dark chamber. Or Orion Pax, not Optimus Prime. Not yet.
One.
Get used to it. It's going to happen a lot. Cover B is by Anna Malkova. And it's Windblade and Bumblebee walking, having a chat, while we see a mural of Orion, Pax, and Megatron in the background. It looks like Orion is holding the disco ball of truth there. And the retailer incentive cover is by Guido Guidi, a very nice G1 Comics inspired cover with Starscream transforming in midair and flying, and Bumblebee on the ground shooting up at him. Starscream looking particularly cowardly as he's trying to escape from Bumblebee. That's a little bit surprising. And we have a retailer exclusive cover from the Comic Mint by artist John Gallagher, and it features Jetfire and Starscream flying. And Jetfire is sporting a Decepticon symbol, not an Autobot symbol. So this is hinting at the history that Starscream and Jetfire had in the G1 cartoon, where they were friends, back in the day. So that's an interesting choice for this art here. So, Mike, which of these covers are you picking as your favorite?
I think I'm going to go with that John Gallagher cover, the Jetfire and Starscream. It is a beautifully done cover. Nice.
How about you, Daryl?
I think it's a toss-up for me. I do like the John Gallagher one, but I don't know. Jetfire as a Decepticon is something I don't particularly want to stand behind. I don't know. It's a nice-looking cover. So it's a toss-up for me between the Nick Roach and Josh Burcham or the Guido Guidi. So I think I'm probably going to have to give it to the Josh Burcham and Nick Roach one. I like the Lord of the Rings Return of the King vibe on this one.
So, yeah. Didn't even think of that.
With, what is it? Stryker pushing the doors open.
Strider,
right. Yeah.
We would have also accepted Aragorn.
I was going for deep cut here, but I was wrong. So, but yeah, I like that look. It's, it's pretty epic. It's undeniably a Lord of the Rings reference, but yeah, it's just a really nice image. The Guido one is beautiful. I don't get what it has to do with anything with the book, but, and why Starscream would be so afraid of Bumblebee. The one that does fit with the book the most is the cover B, the Malkova one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not my type of art. There's a lot of good covers this week.
Yep. I believe the retailer incentive is a 35th anniversary cover. So
okay.
It's supposed to be I guess G1 because it's it's an anniversary cover. But yeah, I'm actually going to pick that one, the Guido Guidi cover. I'm a sucker for Guido Guidi's G1 retro G1 style that he did that. I think he perfected that in Transformers Regeneration 1 a few years ago, and he's continued to show off that style and lots of things he's worked on. And I really like that. And we're going to get more of this in Transformers 1984 coming this summer. So this is a nice little tease of that art style. All right, well, let's get into the story. In the aftermath of Brainstorm's murder and the attack on the Ascenticon rally, Megatron broadcasts a video message to the Cybertron Communications Network. He sees that Cybertronian society is in danger of collapsing, and the Autobots and their security forces can't guarantee the people's safety. But the Ascenticons stand ready to take matters into their own hands. On Megatron's signal, Soundwave introduces the first volunteers of the new Ascenticon Guard. Alita 1, Skytread, aka Flywheels, Refractor, aka Viewfinder, because he's part of Reflector, and Quake. From the Icon Command Center, Orion Pax, Chromia, Ironhide, and Prowl watch Megatron's broadcast with increasing concern. After the broadcast ends, Orion asks his companions to walk with him on his way to an emergency meeting of the Senate. As they walk through Iacon, Orion asks Chromia where was security during the Ascenticon rally. Chromia replies that they had a team in place, but they were focused on crowd control, not expecting an assassination attempt. Security has been ramping up to deal with the trouble the Rise started, but they're not equipped to deal with major crimes like murder and terrorism. Orion next asks for a status update on the Brainstorm murder investigation. Chromia responds that they were monitoring about 20 Rise activists, but they only got half of them in custody while the rest disappeared. Prowl asserts that this means the Rise are involved in the murder, since some of their group knew to disappear before they found them. But it also means the ones they did capture are probably not involved, so they're dead ends. As they continue the discussion, they are interrupted by the psychiatrist Freud, who appears extremely agitated. He tells Orion that he cannot allow Quake to join any kind of security or military group. Freud has diagnosed Quake as an incurable psychopath with a deep-seated desire for violence. We see a brief flashback of Quake during the War of the Threefold Spark. In wartime, he was able to fully indulge his violent impulses until he was taken abruptly off full-power energon. This only exacerbated his rage, which could never be fully contained even after megacycles of peace. Orion assures Freud that he will do everything he can to keep Quake out of any combat situation and takes his leave. As they reach the Senate chamber, Orion orders Chromia and Prowl to continue the murder investigation and try to get answers as quickly as possible. He then orders Ironhide to contact Sentinel Prime, currently off-world, with an update on the situation. Ironhide can't believe the bots who tried to attack the Ascenticon rally used such low-power weapons to try and take out Megatron. They were lucky to get out alive and escape. Orion agrees and hopes they should all be so lucky. Meanwhile, out in the city, Bumblebee continues his mentorship of Rubble. B shows off the speed and maneuverability of his ground vehicle mode. He encourages Rubble to scan and test out some example vehicles to help him pick an alt mode. Rubble seems a bit distracted as he's still fixated on the energon harvesting moon and his time working with Wheeljack from yesterday. To try and get him back on track, Bumblebee calls Rubble's attention to a large machine in the distance digging into the surface of the planet. Rubble asks if that is a Titan, and Bumblebee corrects him, it's a Leviathan. She's a Cybertronian just like them, but she prefers to stay in this drill mode form for kilocycles. She is harvesting metal from the planet to be used to build new Cybertronians, just like Rubble and Bee. Bumblebee uses this example to make the point that their sparks and their bodies are literally made of Cybertron, and as such, they're made to continue to change and grow. Just as Bumblebee is encouraging Rubble to try out a test alt mode, they're interrupted by the arrival of Windblade. She tells Bumblebee he's wanted in the Senate immediately, and she'll take Rubble back to his quarters. Before he leaves, Bee tells Rubble to call him on his communicator if he needs him. Windblade escorts Rubble through the city back to his quarters. Rubble expresses concern that Bumblebee is disappointed in him for some reason. But Windblade reassures him it's definitely not that. Bumblebee is very excited to mentor a new Cybertronian and is focused on getting it right. But the business with Brainstorm has thrown him and much of the Cybertronian populace for a loop. Cybertronians aren't used to dealing with death, let alone murder, and it has everyone on edge. As they enter Rubble's building, he asks Windblade why she thinks Bumblebee was summoned to the Senate, especially since Bee's not interested in politics. Windblade has no idea, but mentions Bee is friends with some of the senators and has history with them. Before they get to Rubble's quarters, they are interrupted by Chromia, accompanied by another bot named Geomotus. Rubble notices Geomotus put some shapes on the table and looks at them curiously. Windblade mentions that Geomotus' mind expresses itself differently from typical Cybertronians, but it also enables him to see patterns that most bots miss. Chromia mentions that they need Geomotus to help them with their investigation, but Freud only allows it if they keep him away from Prowl. Since Chromia's other team members are out on assignments, she asks Windblade to help provide backup as they continue their investigation. Chromia apologizes for leaving Rubble alone, but updates his communicator so that he can contact herself or Prowl, in addition to his mentor Bumblebee if he needs anything. As Chromia, Windblade, and Geomotus take their leave, Windblade pointedly asks Chromia if she included a tracking protocol in Rubble's comlink update. Chromia admits she has, but assures Windblade it's currently inactive and they won't turn it on without reason. Chromia doesn't think Rubble has anything to do with the brainstorm mess, but she can't leave anything to chance. Rubble is left alone to contemplate his thoughts, and he goes out onto the balcony to admire the stars and titans in the Cybertronian night sky. Finally, Orion Pax travels to a chamber buried deep in Cybertron. He meets with a bot named Codexa, who appears to have had their body integrated into Cybertron itself. Pax tells Codexa they need to talk because something has gone wrong. To be continued. All right, so unfortunately, I still feel like we're moving too slowly. This is, I mean, we talked about this last issue that there doesn't really seem to be, a lot of action or, even momentous events happening here. It's kind of just, day to day building and building and building, but I don't feel like we really got anywhere. Like even just a little thing like Bumblebee getting called to the Senate, but we don't even get to see him get to the Senate yet. I guess that'll happen next issue. So it's definitely, for me, it's definitely starting to drag a little bit. I'm hoping the last two parts of this 5-issue arc will speed things up a little bit. And maybe when we get past this first arc, we'll have a little bit more things happening. But yeah, I'm still waiting for, something exciting to happen. I mean, we do get a little bit of, interesting questions like this Codexa, who is kind of molded into Cybertron. That's a little weird. We've got, some more background information about Cybertron, what's going on in Cybertron, like what the current events are, we get some information about the Void Scavengers and how their society is set up. I did like we got a little bit of throwback with Bumblebee having his Cybertronian alt mode from the very first cartoon episode of G1. It's also we also got the weird contrast with his robot mode. His robot mode really looks like he turns into a VW bug, but it's really interesting to see him just turn into that little hover car thing. So that was a nice little throwback to G1. I think the art, I really prefer, like after 3 issues, I'm really preferring Cache Whitman's art to Angel Hernandez. So I wish the split of the art duties was a little bit reversed. Like we got more of Cache than we did of Angel in these issues. But I do think Angel's art is much better in this issue than it was in the previous issue. So I think getting the flashbacks on Quake, and then we've got a More Than Meets the Eye transplant with Freud. So that's one of the original characters that James Roberts and Alex Milne created for More Than Meets the Eye is now showing up here. Hopefully not as sinister as the Freud from the old More Than Meets the Eye comic. So we're still, I think it's still a bit of a holding pattern for me, and so I'm still waiting for interesting things to happen so far. So, Daryl, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so this was a bore. I'm not gonna mince words. The book was not exciting. Do we know, is the first arc 5 issues?
Yes.
So that is definite.
Yes.
Okay. I did make some notes on this one because I wanted to try and keep up with you. I know that's a fool's errand, but I'm going to try.
We're all at level 1 now. It's a new continuity, new issues. You've read the same 3 issues I have.
That's true. But I've only read them
Charles
once.
Power leveled a little bit, and he's already up at like level 3 or 4.
Yeah. Did I read it right that Brainstorm was an Ascenticon?
I don't think so. I think Megatron was just using Brainstorm's murder as just kind of an example of Cybertronian decay. So I don't think we don't have any information one way or the other if Brainstorm was an Ascenticon or not.
So yeah, he's in the first couple pages here. He's mentioning that the Autobot forces can't keep you safe. Brainstorm, died, whatever. But yeah, so I wondered if that. So Brainstorm's not an Ascenticon. Okay. I did notice that they are going ahead with the current toy names for the characters. So we are getting Skytread, like you mentioned, and Refractor, which I'm not super thrilled about. I'd like them to use the original names, but whatever. It's something. Soundwave has yellow eyes. That's definitely something that I would love to change to red. That's just a preference. But
he has like in the G1 comics, he has had yellow eyes in the past. So, I mean, that's maybe more a comics thing than a cartoon thing.
I did appreciate Ironhide referencing the attack on Megatron and how it was like the person taking the shot or attacking Megatron was shit. Because we had mentioned that, how in our review saying that the person attacking Megatron, why would they attack him with such a shit weapon? And so that is part of the actual continuity now that, it was acknowledged, or it was done on purpose anyway. And that Bumblebee's mentor was a she. Do we know who that is? And it was left ambiguous here.
Yep.
There's not many to choose from. There's more now than there was before, but it might be RC. It could be, there's a lot of names out there. It could be Windblade. Windblade didn't own up to being a mentor before, but you'd think during the discussion of talking to Rubble about being mentors, she would have owned up to being someone's mentor before, especially Bumblebee, seeing as how he's so connected to Rubble. But all in all, the story's pretty dry. Not a whole lot happens. When Freud came running in, I was like, oh, okay, something's going on here. Something's happening. And then it just kind of died. Actiony part was a throwback to Quake's past. And then it was over. It was half a page. I'm really desperately waiting for something to happen in this book here. I'm trying to read. I couldn't help but try to read what was being graffitied onto the wall there. Kill the killers. Death to something. And I can't make out what the last word is.
It looks like an H something. I don't know. Death to humans.
That's what I thought it was when I read, is death to humans, but they wouldn't know of us yet. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty boring.
Yeah, I would guess that Windblade is not Bumblebee's mentor, because their relationship comes off as pretty much like good friends or colleagues, like equals, not a kind of mentor-mentee relationship. Like I don't know. Yep. Bumblebee doesn't have much respect for Windblade, like that kind of respect. So at least he's annoyed with how she's like always flying right in front. Like
it's like a brother sister kind of relationship.
Yeah. I did also notice with Cachet Whitman's art in particular, the designs are very toyetic. Like that continues here. Like Alita 1, I think that's her her most recent toy. Quake was a Titan's Return figure that looks like it's based on that design there. Soundwave, of course, is based on his War for Cybertron design, I guess minus the battle damage. So that's continuing. And I did like we do get a little bit of like this with Freud. He's a psychiatrist who apparently had some patient that they're not letting him see anymore. I'm curious what's behind that. So that's interesting.
Well, there's definitely some good questions, that'll hopefully be answered within the coming issues. But there's not a very good amount of, there's no ratio here of, there's no action to balance out the talkness of these books.
We need a hook to draw us into the story, and it's not here yet. All right, Mike. So I mean, maybe you could tell us your impression of the first 3 issues, in addition to going when you talk about this issue here, since we haven't heard your opinions on the new comic series.
There's a lot of world building with this, and I really do like it. One of the things I really enjoyed about the older series is just the lore that was created, and I'm liking that is happening with this series. And I think so far that's my favorite part of it, that discovery and kind of finding out all this new stuff that hasn't been written about yet. That being said, I do agree with you, Charles, that it is a very slow pace. I wouldn't go as far as to echo Daryl. I wouldn't say it's a bore. It's certainly interesting to me to read, but I think I'm at the point now where it's like, all right, let's get a little bit more of the actual story happening. Let's pick it up a little bit, because it's been 3 issues and nothing really has happened. Brainstorm was killed, and Bumblebee and Rubble walked and talked for a while. Megatron got mad and shouted some. That's pretty much the sum total of what we've seen so far. So I really do hope that it does kind of pick up the pace a little bit on the next one. I'm liking the inclusion of Freud specifically. That was a nice touch. There hasn't really been anyone else that is like unique to the old universe, is it?
Yeah, I think he's the first kind of original character from the old IDW continuity that's been plopped in here.
Yeah. I suppose you could say Windblade too, but I mean, she's a bit more established at this point.
Windblade's everywhere.
I love the idea of Leviathan. That's pretty cool, and that's something I don't think we see enough of. We don't see enough of Cybertronians that have much different, like vastly different, like alt modes and vastly different size differences than the typical bots we've seen. Because we've gotten, like everything from Rewind up to Roadbuster, and that was pretty much like the common elements for a lot of bots. Yeah, there was some bigger ones, but it didn't really show that there was just other massive bots all around the planet. So seeing that's a really cool piece of lore and world building that I really like.
I liked how Bumblebee makes a comment like, she's a Cybertronian just like you or I. So it's, it's like, yeah, she's bigger, she has a different form, but she's a conscious sentient being just like us. So that's, just expanding the scope of the Cybertronian world here.
Overall, I think the series, I'm liking it so far. I just want to make certain that it's actually going to do some more and pick up the pace more. And with More Than Meets the Eye and Lost Light, we got the world building and we got action. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of hoping that it goes more in that direction where we keep the world building that we're getting right now, but we're also getting some more action and some more stuff happening in terms of content. The ending just confused me. Like I'm not certain what to think of these Cybertronians who are melded with the surface of the planet. Is this like a punishment? Is this some sort of like druidic or Zen thing that they do, like giving their bodies back to Cybertron? So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out.
Yeah, especially since, Orion Pax just kind of walks by, doesn't even really give them a second look as he's going to talk to Codexa.
Yeah, it's normal enough that he's not going to say anything about it.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that is our review of Transformers number 3. Oh, I guess one other thing, we do get the new character Geomodus. So we talked about that, like that was teased about a month ago. He's a character who is basically on the autism spectrum. So it's interesting. They show a little. He's got these little shapes that he uses to kind of make him feel more comfortable within enclosed environments. So that was just an interesting little detail that I think is a nice touch, a nice bringing a little bit more, adding that additional human variation to the Transformers characters. So that was interesting.
I have a question about that. Mm-hmm. And that, I mean, I don't want this to be taken insensitively, but with them being robots, wouldn't that be something that they would just repair?
In the last series for Transformers, though, the mind is a very delicate thing. Like, it's not, you can't just, root around in the circuitry and fix things up without, potentially doing a lot of damage. So I would think that you wouldn't want to, just like neurosurgery for people, I think it's probably, more complex than that. So,
Okay. No, that works for me. I'm just wanted to pose the question for anyone else out there that might be thinking it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's like they said, he's not, he's different. He's not, it's not broken or disability for him. It's he has a different way of thinking. So there's advantages and disadvantages. And so some things can, some deficits you have, you make up for with, with other abilities. So, All right. Well, that's Transformers number 3. And that's our comic review. So let's move on to Transformers media news.
All right. In media news this week, we've got a new mobile game. We have not had a new one of those in a while. This is Transformers Bumblebee Defender, mobile game by Kaspersky Lab. Never heard of Kaspersky Lab, but there's a little clip here of it. You can watch that on YouTube. Having Bumblebee fighting in a small town where Blitzwing and other Decepticons have landed. This is obviously Bumblebee from the movie, so know that going in. But yeah, you can take a look at that. There's also a lot of local townsfolk that are speaking with you throughout the game. So if you're looking for a new game to play, be on the lookout for that.
Oh, one thing we should point out, the game is only available in Russian.
That's because Kaspersky Lab is actually a Russian antivirus company.
It's not Kaspersky, it's Kaspersky.
Well, what'd I say?
Kaspersky.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Go back and listen to the tape. I think you're wrong.
The antivirus company. I don't think this is the same thing.
Well, it says, the first line says, there's a disagreement in the news post, because at the first line says Kaspersky Lab, known by their antivirus software, and Bumblebee, and then later on it's spelled Kaspersky, so this post itself can't decide how it's actually spelled.
Yes, see, Kaspersky, it is an antivirus company, but why would they start making a Transformers game? The Russians would definitely make a game based on popular media and name their company something similar to an antivirus company, right?
Well, when I clicked on the actual link to the app in the App Store, it says Kaspersky. It's not Kaspersky. It is Kaspersky.
Oh, okay.
And Google doesn't give me anything for Kaspersky.
I don't trust it.
You don't trust Google?
I don't trust Russians.
But Russian Yoshi doesn't trust Russians?
Listen, I have the most experience with Russians, and I don't trust them. No, I don't know. The game looks like shit. I don't care about it. If you're looking for something that may or may not steal your credit card numbers, download this game.
Wait, is this the first time I've met you, Russian Yoshi?
It might be, but I know many Mikes.
It's such an honor to have a conversation and to meet you.
Well,
I've heard
you're
so many
welcome.
good things.
I wish I could say same.
Oh,
Wow.
I know too many Mikes. Can I call you something else?
like what?
I don't know. Greg? I don't know any Greg.
Sure.
It's fabulous.
Can you get Daryl back in the room so we can go on with the media news?
I'm going to continue with media news because it's late and I want to watch Game of Thrones. So we've got another a post here from IGN. It's about the trading card game and how we're getting Soundwave, Ultra Magnus, and some others coming to the card game for Wave 3. They are already talking Wave 3. Okay, this is me personally talking here. This is not it's just opinion, but this is something that is really starting to bug me about the game. Is they are really throwing out the amount of cards here. They are really filling the availability of different cards, and that's good in one hand. But on the other hand, with every new wave, they're coming out with different abilities, different things that can be done, different things like combiners in Wave 2. That's a huge, huge ability. For me, who used to play Magic the Gathering, I remember starting back at the end of Revised and 4th edition, and they might throw one new ability or subset in each new set or new card wave. This is really fast, and for someone who, even with my experience with Magic, I'm finding it really hard to keep up with the amount of stuff that these Transformers cards can do. And it's one of the main reasons why I haven't even really looked for Wave 2, is because, frankly, I can't remember how to play Wave 1 anymore. And to throw Wave 2 on top of it, and they're already talking Wave 3, is really starting to really make me not want to get into the game. Just a quick side discussion here, guys. I mean, Charles, you showed off on Wednesday that you had you've been getting Wave 2 packs. Is this at all overwhelming to you?
It definitely is. I mean, I'm not a trading card game player. Like, I just picked up the Transformers ones because I like the art and I thought it was interesting, and I missed out on the TFCon experience to try and play the game. So I'm looking forward to playing the game, but I'm not even going to attempt to try and collect all these cards. I mean, and this with Wave 3 now, they're tying into the War for Cybertron Siege stuff. And so they've got, in addition to like the new cards with just new characters, now they've got the weaponizer things, I'll still call them target masters. And then they've also got micro masters. So now you've got the giant size cards, you've got the regular size character cards, you've got the combiner cards. Now you've got mini size cards for all the micro masters and target masters. So in addition to like all the different kinds of cards, they're all like everything in your deck is a different size, it feels like. So how do you even keep your deck straight? That's an interesting. Crazy.
I mean, for the only thing that's been changing size are the character cards, and those don't actually go in your deck anyway. So the deck remains the same size as far as physical size. Mm-hmm. There's different abilities and that kind of thing, and each character obviously has a different ability, and you build your decks around that. But then obviously when you play somebody else, their deck is going to be different, and how it's going to react to what you're playing and how it reacts with itself. So you've got to know that. And then obviously if you go up against a Metroplex deck or you're going up against a combiner deck, like, you've got to know all this stuff, and it's a lot to learn, and they're throwing it at us really quickly. And that's one of the things that I've been finding overwhelming. Mike, are you getting into this at all?
My wife picked up the Devastator, the Devastator theme deck for me. I've played, I think, 2 games of it so far, and that wasn't even with the Devastator deck. It was borrowing a friend's the Wave 1 starter deck versus his Metroplex deck. And my thought on it is the release cycle is coming like very quickly. And I do wish they, instead of doing like 3 tiny set, well, actually, you know what? No, I can't even say that. Because like the more I think about it, the more I realize I think they're doing this just to keep it all in the public's mind and keep it in the fans' in mind, and keep interest for it just flowing. If they did it like a Magic set where it's they have like one release in the year, or one at the beginning, one towards the end, I think interest would wane on it pretty quickly. So I think that's the reason for it. I think they're doing intentionally smaller sets, doing different things, and making the release schedule a lot faster, because maybe because they expect interest to burn out quickly. They want to capitalize on it as much as possible.
Sure. Yeah.
And as far as the number of mechanics for it, I don't think there's really too much. The actual cards themselves, like the battle cards, there's only about 3 or 4 actual mechanics there. And they're pretty simple mechanics. It's like, okay, you draw 2 extra cards when you're attacking. It's like, okay, that's fine, whatever. I will agree that the character cards have an incredibly wide variety of abilities so far, and that's including the stuff that's been announced for Wave 3 with Micromasters and everything. That's getting, I don't want to say excessive, because it's really not, but it's certainly getting a lot more stuff in it. I can kind of see where you're coming from it, though. They're not letting you master the one concept that you get from like Wave 1 or Wave 2 before throwing the next concept at you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, but that's definitely how I've been feeling with regards to the trading card game. I have a significant amount of Wave 1, thanks a lot to the Duggernaut who gifted me quite a bit of it. But it's been quite a lot of time invested into just trying to learn what's there, and frankly I don't have a lot of that time to spend on it. Let us know in comments and tweets and stuff if you feel the same, or if if you found that these sets are coming out in a good release schedule, or if you're eagerly awaiting Wave 3 because Wave 2's you've completed and you're ready to go. Moving on, keeping with the trading card game, there is a launch event that's going to be scheduled with a new card reveal. So this launch event, it is going to be in-store promos. There's a 4 to 6 weeks of in-store play, and there's special gold foiled editions of character cards from Waves 1, 2, and 3. So it looks pretty cool. So if you are if you go to a store that does sell the cards, inquire about getting in on the some kind of promo or launch event, and see if they're going to take place in, or they're going to take part in it. We have some Bumblebee movie news. I'm surprised this is still coming out, but there it is. The Bumblebee movie for the Japanese version has an anime clip, part 3. So take a look at that if you want. Entenmann's Donuts and Bumblebee win a free vacation promotion. So there you go, some kind of contest. Concept art, round up 7. So a bunch of concept art from the movie. Right. And Travis Knight explains the reboot aspect of Bumblebee. So there's a nice interview there about how his movie is actually a reboot. Also, I want to throw in here, we had this past week, we had Bumblebee, or a guy in a Bumblebee suit, actually visit a local Walmart here in my home city of London, Ontario. We had a friend of the show, Dogcades, take some pictures of it, and you can find them in the Discord. He probably tweeted them out as well. Look out for a Bumblebee, visiting local Walmarts, I guess. So take a look at that. There's a van as well that they park out front that's all decoed out with Bumblebee stuff. So take a look for that. I'm sure your local stores will have some information on whether or not they're going to host something like that. In future movie news, we have Travis Knight interviewing, expresses his interest to do another Transformers movie. I mean, who wouldn't? He knows what kind of money they throw at Michael Bay when he does shit ones. He did a good one. So, and that's it for media news.
All right. Well, we've got a little tiny bit of convention news.
So in convention news this week, Bob Budiansky is scheduled to attend TFCon Toronto 2019. The dates are July 12th through the 14th. And yeah, he will be there, likely signing and talking to fans.
I believe he has a
Q&A panel as well.
Yes, he will have that. But he also has a 6 comic limit for free signing, and then you have to pay a little bit to sign, like more than 6 comics. So just a heads up, if you're going.
A heads up to Daryl.
I've met him like 4 times, so most of my stuff is signed already.
Oh, all right. So you should be good then.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll find something. I mean, you gotta.
It's always cool because Bob Budiansky, if you haven't seen his panel, I mean, what's cool about him is that he took a lot of notes when he first did all his work on Transformers. So, I mean, all the tech spec stuff that he did, all the initial character bios and character ideas he worked on, he has notes for all that, so you can go back and actually show all the initial notes and stuff he put down. So like this is the initial DNA of all the Transformers characters is right there. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't seen Bob Budiansky at a con, it's a treat to get to see what he presents.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't know that he's actually an artist as well.
Yeah.
So, he wrote a lot of the Transformers books. He wrote a lot of other books, Ghost Rider and Sleepwalker as well. But he also did a lot of art as well. If you look up a comic book database page on him, you can find out exactly what kind of art he did. He did the cover for Uncanny X-Men number 120, which is the first appearance of Alpha Flight. So, somebody might bring that to him to get him to sign it. You might get a quick little story out of him about how doing, stuff other than Transformers. Whether that interests you, it interests me. That's why I brought it for him to sign one time. But yeah, I like finding little nuggets of interesting things that people did outside of their majority of work.
Would he take commissions?
He has. Jeremy got him to do a Scrounge cover. I believe Yoshi is still waiting on something from TFCon Chicago 2016.
Yikes!
Whenever we were there selling, whatever year that was.
That was 2016. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he's still waiting on that. So if I know, I'm sure Yoshi would have shown it off if he had gotten it. So yeah. I don't think he's paid for it though either. So, but yeah, he does take commissions. So if you're gonna ask him for something, try to make it easy. I believe Yoshi's was a little bit more complex.
Clearly. All right. Well, that's all the convention news. So let's finish up the show with some feedback. All right. As I teased in transmissions this week, we had some feedback from friend of the show, Dual Mirrored Gridwork, but he left it in the toy show, but it was really focused on the Bumblebee movie. So he's getting back in touch. He did get some toy hacks, so he won the toy hacks contest a couple of months ago, so he got some stickers. He got some G1 faction symbols, and he said he will send us some pictures soon. So we'll look forward to that. And he also got the Bumblebee DVD Blu-ray pack. And he's not, he thought it was fine, but he wasn't blown away. And I guess didn't really, he wasn't really happy with the whole, he said the Cybertron scenes were great. Like everyone loves the Cybertron scenes, but he didn't like the fact that they kind of straddled the line between whether or not it was a reboot and didn't commit either way, within the movie. So that was a little sore spot for him. So I guess we'll see. He said he'll see how he likes it on future viewings. And he's looking for Yoshi, like us. We put out a missing persons report for Yoshi. He's asking, where the bleep is Yoshi, because he wrote bleep or asterisk. Exactly. Yeah, whatever.
Sorry, bud, I know I'm a poor substitute, but you got me this week.
Russian Yoshi, and he reacts to Russian Yoshi's suggestion for Robin. I'm not going to go into that again. All right, thanks Dual Mirror Gridwork for your feedback as always. We do need to edit it a little bit because you do tend to write lots of stuff, but we appreciate it. Thanks for writing in. All right, that'll do it for feedback, and that'll do it for this episode of Transmissions Alt Mode. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Until next time.
Later.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to this episode of Transmissions. But just because this episode is over doesn't mean the Transformers fun has to stop. Join us and other Transformers fans on our Discord chat server by visiting transmissionspodcast.com/discord. If you would like to learn more about how you could support the Transmissions Podcast, just visit transmissionspodcast.com/support. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Go and make 1 million Dropbox folders.
Let me split my backup.
Yeah, split everyone's backup. Who cares?
Don't touch my backup. I don't know what you're doing back there, Charles, but keep your hands to yourself.
Don't reach around to the backup? Is that what you're telling me?
Jesus, Charles, such an elitist.
This will be short for everyone since we can't do the comic live, so...
Sounds like an excuse, Charles.
I know.
Probably very elitist.
Always trotting down in the masses. Is trotting even a verb?
I don't know what that means. Am I downtrodding them? I don't know. Am I trotting over them? Am I trampling them?
Trotting over them, yes. Yes, that's exactly what you're doing. The poor unwashed masses.
They should wash.
All right. You idiots. Let's go.